So, Gail, you've done an amazing exhibition. So we'll start here. So tell us about these pictures.
Okay, these pictures I wanted black and white, sombre. I just wanted people to look at them without any preconceived ideas and to just not make any judgment of who they are and what they are. I find them very strong and powerful, and I love it because when you look at them, you actually connect with each person, you know, and that's all part of it.
So was there a certain process or something you did with these pictures?
What studio, black and white. That was their first photo they took before we started the process. So we did the initial meet and greet, and then we did the interviews, and then we started off with this photo. Yeah, and I think it's great because as hard as it is, they weren't allowed to smile. Some of them have smirks, but that's alright. Yeah, so that's the initial, so when you look, they're actually following you and looking at you, and I think that's powerful.
So now we've got masks of Anakin. I don't know, do you want to tell us the process of doing them and what they represent?
Okay, so I visualised having masks to, because I think because they're real masks, it catches the essence of the person. And so the three of them represent, this one here is represent her being silenced, and she wasn't allowed to communicate and express her emotions and stuff. This is an emotionless image. It's peaceful, but it's also haunting at the same time. And this one here is, she's frowning, she's concerned, and yeah, so they're beautiful. I love them. So the stage was a lot of research into YouTube of how to do it. Bought some silicone, whipped it up, and me and Kelly set to, and we poured it all over Anna's face and brushed it, and she was very amazing. Like, she had to wait 40 minutes while the silicone cured and only have nose holes to breathe out of, and then once that cured, we then put plaster Paris mask over top, and then that had to take another 20 minutes to set. I love the ring one. That was an absolute mongrel pour because of course the hand finishes, but you know, we worked it out. So once they came out, it was just sanding and fixing the different parts, and yeah, I just love them. You look at them closely, you can look at them far away, and there's some eyelashes still left in it from Monica, but I find them very powerful. I love them white. It's just got a lot of meaning to them.
Is there anything you would have done different?
Probably maybe this one, try to work out how we could get over the screaming, because it was pretty tough because this was all new. The silicone fell into Anna's mouth and we had to scoop it out. But I still want to carry on experimenting and doing different things. In the long run, I don't think so. I think just the face, because the face tells a story. I think that's all we need. Yeah, I think we can only get better as we do it more often.
So, do you want to tell us about these images and what they mean to you?
Okay. So part of the interview is you get to, you really get to know these people, like in so much depth and emotion. So of course, whenever we spoke, I had ideas and I wanted to bring out the essence of the person. So people look at them, they're touched emotionally, but they're human. But I also wanted each picture to tell a story. So this one here, I visualised when Annika said about the growing light inside her that saved her, and like she's an amazing mum, and you know, her children are the ones that have got her through this, and you know, she doesn't want to be like her parents, and she's far from it. I mean, in the way her daughter is just looking up to her in such awe, and it's, to me, when you look at it, it's like the start of a new life, and she's got the rest of her life, and she's moving forward, and anything is possible, and it's just, it's very beautiful. This one with Jerry, he spoke about how his medical condition was a superpower. So I mentioned, and because the social cues aren't always necessarily there, and the world goes around them, and they're in their own world, I want them to represent that. And so we had fun in an alleyway capturing these images with slow shutter speed, catching the blur. We had fun, and so I used different techniques of slow shutter speed, and then I zoomed with a zoom lens to capture the flare. So this is several layered images, and you know, like, it was great. Jerry said that I captured it exactly how he visualised when we talked about it. So for me, that was amazing. It's just, I find it a very powerful image. And Tony, well, this represents his life was torn down when he was discovered. He had bone cancer, but he's a courageous, strong person, and he had to learn to rebuild his life after the destruction, and it's just a strong, powerful image. The colourings, the Book of Eli, I love the colour tones, so I did a lot of research into the colour tones and the gradients, so I was quite happy with those. It doesn't take, it's the monotone sort of colours allows you to focus on Tony and then look at the background. This one here, Shauna, is just a happy, smiley person. When we first started, she told me she didn't like to smile. She didn't like her smile, and I said to her, leave it, that's my job, and just to relax. And between a lot of bantering and having a laugh, it proves it's a really fun image, and her badges mean a lot to her. It shows her personality, so I wanted to make it black and white, and the badge is colour, so they stand out just like she does. This one here was, it's beautiful. It was beautiful winter's morning, night, evening, sunset. It was amazing just watching Kelly dancing around, and I love the silhouette side of it. It's just so freeing, and you look at it, it's like she's dancing just like Annika's one, It's a new possibility. Her life is about to unfold in front of her, and she'll leave her past behind. So, and I love the colours and the silhouettes. So, had tears with that one as well. Right, so these ones are my powerful images. So each group of images I wanted to represent one person of each, but them also to work together as a group. So this one here is just a fun, smiling image of Jerry. He's a happy person, and once you get to know him, he's Jerry. He's an awesome person, great personality, amazing filming, and it's nice. He can't tell by this that he has a stigma or a label that he's Asperger's. He's just who he is. This one here, she's a boss bitch. To me, it's strong. There's a bit of vulnerability there, but I love it. It's so powerful that she looks you directly in the eye and you just know that, you know, she might have been broken, but she's not going to stand for it anymore. That, you know, she is a warrior and she's got the rest of her life ahead of her. Just, yeah, I love it. And this one here, as soon as you walk in, you see the red, but then Kelly's eyes capture you, and you just, wherever you move, you can see it. It was pretty tough for the print, but we wanted to represent how, you know, the hands, the bruising went far deeper than just the surface, and the trauma that, you know, like sunk in, you know, and the process that now Kelly has to go through, you know, and also it does remind you of it on a slab, you know, in the mortuary, because it could have happened like that, and it's powerful, it's pretty, but it's also raw, which is, you know, domestic violence is raw, and there's, wherever you walk, you see her. Shauna's one, I'd seen the lighting for this. I think it's gorgeous, it brings out her femininity. And it was just, it's something I'd seen. I thought right on the day, I said, hey, I want to work with some gels, let's try it. And it was great because I struggled getting hands right, and Shauna and Kelly helped me, and Shauna just worked, and it's stunning. It also represents to me, you know, this is the start of her, you know, like her new life, and she wants to embrace it, and it's just powerful. The world is your oyster. This one of Tony, he's smiley, you should see he's got a glint in his eye. You know, he's a strong person, and he's more than just an amputee. You know, like he's a father, a grandfather, brother, a son. You know, he's also a work colleague, and he's very passionate about helping people with special needs, and that's part of his role. And you just see, you know, the goodness within him. He's more than just a missing leg. So this set is like bam shots. You know, you walk in and the strong essence of who these people are. So this one here of Annika, I love it because it shows all the different emotions. It's called Out of the Shadows, and it's just, you know, she's had to hide in the shadows, and there's so many emotions, and it's like, now that she's accepted, it's okay to have anxiety and PTSD. It's not her fault, and she's smiling, she's happy in the end, and it's just, you look at that picture of her and you just know it's her, you just want to give her a big kiss. Those cheeks, you know. I'll crop that because I'm not creepy. This picture here is of Tony. It's a real strong, powerful picture, because he's had to overcome losing his leg at such a young age. But he's also, he looks after his body and, you know, mind, body and soul. You've got to have that strong to, you know, to overcome everything. And it doesn't define who he is. You know, you wouldn't even know that Tony had a missing leg. This one here, suffocation. This is probably one of the harder ones I had to do. You know, like, it was exciting. So this one was hard. Like, we came up to the idea together, and all the time I keep on saying, Kelly, are you sure you want to do this? We don't have to do it. And she'd say, shut up, we're going to do it before I back out. So I stood on the side of the pool. We set it all up. It's her son's hands. It's amazing. It's like the shot I visualised, and having it printed and stuff. It's just, it's exactly what it's meant to be. It's after we took it, there was lots of tears, tears of relief, but also tears of, oh my God, we just did it. her son's hands. He didn't really want to do it, but a peer pressure, and he did. I love it. There's been a lot of controversy over this. It was taken down in one exhibition, but you know, if people had taken the time and read the synopsis or the information about Gayles Story, they would have realised it wasn't glorifying or encouraging suicide, and that's part of my project I want to portray. If you take the time to find the story about someone before you make a judgment, it's quite often not what you think it is. So, so part of that did go to my research, but you know, I love the colours, you know, glad wrap. You tell your kids all the time not to put glad wrap on your face, and here we did it with water. Shauna, well, I'm talking to her about, you know, like coming out and how she felt so good. I had this vision of, you know, coming out of a closet. As much as it's cliche, it's still a fact that people do. I wanted to have the old her down in the black and white to represent who she was, but it's not who she is now. I love this image. It's fun. She's laughing, and we're having a joke, and that's, you know, Shauna's personality. I wanted to put the rainbow colours behind because that is for the LGBT plus group. You know, that's part of the colours, and it's who it is. It's fun, and that's one of Shauna's favourite pictures. This one down here, Jerry. Jerry talked about insomnia a lot and how he couldn't sleep and different noises. You know, when we were talking, I was like, well, why don't you count sheep? He says because he loses count, and then all he does is stress about losing count, so it sort of keeps him in a, you know, like a constant, you know, like circle of, you know, like stress. The light bulb is, he has lots of ideas when he's lying in bed. The puzzle represents the autism, you know, like that's their symbol. So in the bubble here represents what he thinks about. So Jerry's a filmer, so he thinks a lot about his next project or the project he's working on. There's a game console there because he plays a lot of games. The TV represents the fact that he'll watch TV, but also it's the brain waves and the connections, and you know, like that's part of Asperger's in that there's a lot of, you know, connections that aren't quite firing through. The car with the wee horn, you know, like he'll hear noises outside and it makes him you know, hyper alert. We spoke, and he said some noises, you know, when he was a kid, it would remind him of a mouse in the ceiling. So if he'd hear a noise, he visualises that. So, you know, he's always on high alert, and Jerry loves this one as well, and I was stoked because it pushed myself, you know, into drawing and adding it, but I wanted the black and white for the simple side of things. So, yeah, I think it's very cool. Right, so these ones. I love this one. It's when you look at it, you know, Annika talks about how she wears this mask, and I think most people do wear a mask on the outside, and then their true inner self we hide away. I guess it's your persona. But I love this picture because Annika wrote all the things you know, people see on the exterior, and then, you know, she spoke about how she feels inside, and the image, I love it because she's just looking directly at you, and it's almost soulless, because when you know, take your mask away, you know, you're left with this vulnerable shell, and I find it very powerful. And here's the mask she wrote on. It's just a generic mask that you get from any shop, but you know, yet again, that works as we all have a mask. And I so want people to realise that we're all fighting battles that we don't know, and so we have to be kind to people. We don't know, we don't have the right to judge. Shauna spoke about how she might be a lady, but she's no woman, and she's a rock chick, and she wanted to get a picture with a motorbike. So we went to Bill Richardson's, found this awesome guy who had an old bike and he wanted to be part of it. So we've got this really cool picture, and it's just a lovely smiling image of Shauna because she spoke about she didn't like her smile. And I just wanted to say to her that, you know, you've got a beautiful smile. And she said she smiles all the time now because I was right. She does have great, and everybody has this inner beauty. It doesn't matter what trauma you've experienced, that we, you know, don't want that taken away. This here, I think, is very powerful. It's of Tony, and it's him just pondering and thinking. And when you look at it, you can't tell that he's an amputee, because after all, you know, he's not just an amputee. You know, he's a person. So I find it it's just very powerful and sort of, yeah, like gives it like an inner peace. You know, trying to explore who he is and discovering who he is. This one here is similar to the other one, but I like this one because this is Jerry. The world goes around him and he doesn't necessarily understand, you know, people's sarcasm and, you know, sometimes what they say, but he's okay with that because he also doesn't actually have to worry about it. Yeah, and it's just, he's the one that's focused and everything else is blurry. This one here, Dance to Freedom, I love it because when we were filming in the studio, Kelly just started dancing around, so I just started taking photos, and it's fun. It shows that, you know, like out of trauma, you know, if you can come out of it. Not that she's completely over it, but you can find a way. You know, you've got to find something that sparks your soul. Dancing, walking, swimming, gym, you know, because. And, you know, it just shows, you know, she's this cheeky look on her face, and, you know, if anyone who knows Kelly knows that it's mischief.
So out of all of the pictures, all of the images, you talked about the suffocation one being probably most challenging. What else? What other challenges did you face, and what did you really struggle with the most?
Well, I think it's, when I look at each photo, it all has I have an emotional attachment to it because, you know, like, you're so connected to the people you're working with. You know, I've spent a year, you know, like, in communication and reading everyone's stories, so they all have a story, like probably the one of Annika with her daughter Kaya. After I took it, you know, and even after I looked at it on the computer, I had a tear because it's beautiful. It's simple, strong, but, you know, it shows future and possibilities. I don't know, I all look at them, and there's been lots of tears shed and lots of emotional, yeah, and there's lots more other photos, but we couldn't have them all. I don't know. I wouldn't say I've got a favourite or one that triggers. I mean, definitely the one of Kelly, suffocation triggers, but on the other side of it, they all have a story to tell. And on the Thursday night, when people spoke about what their favourite image was, it was really overwhelming because you realised what I visualised and what I wanted to put through was how they felt that they were represented. So that was the most important thing for me, to know that I'd represented them well, because of course you wanted it positive, not negative. And then Tony's leg. So, and I mean, this is the other thing, like, for me, when I look at a picture, a sculpture, the film, there's always a story behind it. There's always, you know, some tears, you know, some hard working out, like this one here, like, this was a nightmare, but what I visualised in my head has come out far better. But I wanted to represent, you know, like, what Tony had gone through, you know, like, it's beautiful, but it's also, has a rawness about it because of the barbed wire, and that's to represent, you know, the bone cancer that Tony lost his leg with. And you look at it and it's pretty, it's like ice, jagged parts, and for me it was a huge undertaking and a huge learning curves. A few muff ups, but I think in the long run it's made it better. But yeah, and with the glitter it gives it another dimension, and I'm so pleased we decided to put it in. Yeah, so this is better than I visualised. So when Kelly read out her story and we recorded it, it took a couple of takes. The first one, actually, first we had to have a go because there was lots of tears. I mean, I think I'm very privileged that everyone wrote their own stories, and they're beautiful, they're from the heart, you know, and like Kelly's one, you can hear the raw emotion as she reads it of her experience and the trauma of domestic violence. And I was like, hey, this would be really good as a film. So then I did my storyboarding like what you're supposed to, and we came up with some ideas. And it's an art film. It's not perfect, but I love it. I think it works really well together. We did lots of different takes. As a collaborative, we came up with the ideas. You know, like it's still quite hard to hear and watch. Sometimes I've been stuck in here with someone, I'm watching it with them, and I kind of have to shut off because it's real, you know. It's hard, but I hope that people can view it, and it may shock them, but it's also, domestic violence is shocking. I remember the one thing I learnt that I still triggers me, that in New Zealand, if there's a rugby game or you know, national sporting or international sporting event and New Zealand's part of it, if New Zealand loses, domestic violence goes up 90%. Why aren't the sports teams putting up warning signs in the ads and stuff? Because it's that, you know, like, it shocks me that in New Zealand that is our culture, that, you know, that we're going to add alcohol and then sport, and then, you know, it's not even the woman or the family member's fault, and get it taken out of them, you know. They go on about smoking. Well, smoking's nothing compared to domestic violence, the impact it has on the people around them, their families, you know. It's not okay. And it's such a powerful story, images, there was lots of takes, there was laughter, the bed cracked, but it's also, it all came in together, and it's the connection of the Kelly's eyes, and parts of it just really trigger. And yeah, the feedback I've had from this exhibition is very powerful, very humbling, and you know, like, if this film doesn't move you, you know, wow, because it's meant to move you, it's meant to show you that it's not okay.
So what sort of feedback have you had from people watching this?
I've had people crying, I've had one lady leave. There is warning signs, and I do explain to them it's about domestic violence. People go out as shocked that, you know, other human beings can do this, because domestic violence is so often hidden behind closed doors, that now people are watching this and it's out there. They can't turn a blind eye. This is a film that shows this and shows the real emotion of someone. People have written some amazing comments about how powerful it is, how strong the participants are to share their stories, and it is. I mean, this is a collaborative, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without people. The participants, the 5 awesome people, I thank them, because part of this process I realise it is so important to help people. And if my art can give them a voice, give them the freedom to move on and have a therapeutic effect, but also the audience to step back and go, oh, that's the reason behind their story. You know, that is, I want to bridge the gaps in society, and to know that it's okay to be different. It's okay to be an individual and, you know, experience but it's not okay to judge and be cruel to people.
So, doing this exhibition and helping these, us five, that must have taken an emotional toll on you in some stages, because some of the images, well, let's just know, I'll rephrase that, all of the images are so powerful and each tell their own story. Like, that must have had quite an emotional toll on you at some point.
I think it's been a roller coaster of, there's been a lot of emotion, but there's also a rewarding emotion and triggers, and it's so many mixed feelings. And there's a point where you've just got to go, I've got to get this work done. Of yes, it works. There's, once you've done all the images, the film, the sculptures, the final part was one that I exhibited. Like, it was on the walls, it was on display, and I walked in here and I got very emotional, because it's just like, what I visualized at the start of the year is nothing compares to the final output. It is amazing. There's so many emotions. It's, to be able to help people tell their stories, but also hopefully it can help people, not to be so judgmental and understand that there's a story behind someone's trauma, or the way they look, or the way they are, and it's okay as long as you're good to people. Who cares? Who cares if you don't look normal? And like, I'm also going to carry this project on, and I've already had people approaching me wanting to be part of it, and I'm blown away, because how special is that, to be able to be so intimate with someone's life and to be able to share it in a positive way, but also to help them. I feel like that's my calling, is to be with the social engagement and helping people, because it's helped me as well. It's helped me deal with my own stuff. So